I will say, I was surprised to see the modulars go in, like right across the street from my house, but I was like, that is marketing genius.
Yeah.
That's what I.
Remind the public every single day.
Absolutely.
Putting them in the back
Yeah.
didn't work, you know, that's where they were before, you couldn't really see them. I'm like, that's the smartest move they've made.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. We are back on the record for the budget workshop. Ms. Miles, our treasurer, will take that on right now. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Jenica, you can go ahead and put it. So Becky introduced this slide. We're going to talk about PTO first, the conversion of PTO from separation of vacation and sick and combining the two into PTO. And the reason I'm bringing it up is I've already done projections and added them into the budget, and so I just wanted to kind of review this with you again. And I wasn't here at the meeting where Becky presented it, so just as a refresher, more like. So our current sick and vacation for a full-time employee is accrued based on what you see up to 5 years, 3.08, 5 to 10, 4.62, and more than 10 is 5.54. How does that break out? That's 2 weeks for your 1 year to 5 years. It's 3 weeks from 5 to 10, and it's 3.6 weeks after that. And there's 26 pay periods, and the accrual is based on years of service, and at separation, up to 1 year of vacation accrual is paid out, so 2 weeks is paid out.
That's an important number to remember.
Yep, and sick time is unpaid when you leave the city, so that you do not get paid out on any sick leave when you leave the city. That is how it is today. So this was proposed, and we've already kind of moved to it. In fairness for our police officers or anybody who's working 2184 hours per year versus a 2080, because they're working 12 hours, right? So they're working 12 hours and they go on vacation, they were only getting paid for 8, or well, they'd get paid for 12, but it would take up their accrual faster, right? So we've already set this up in payroll to have it be a more fair accrual for those individuals. And so what we're looking at is a conversion to PTO where 100% of whatever they have accrued in their vacation will move into PTO, and up to 120 hours of their sick will move into PTO, and anything over 120 hours, based on what they want to do, will be paid out. So anything in excess of 120 hours of sick, we will pay out in October in the new budget. So right now, and this is an example of employee A has 100 hours of vacation and 95 sick, they convert at 195 to PTO. And employee B has 100 vacation and 200 sick, they would convert 220 hours to PTO, and we would pay out the difference. And currently there is 17 employees with sick time balances greater than 120 hours.
Now, we picked 120 as a number because it's 3 weeks. And typically if someone has an illness or a surgery, usually it's within that 3 weeks, right? So there was no magic to 120. It's just kind of the number that we picked to kind of pay out above that, keeping everybody at a balance of at least 120. So you can adjust that up or down, but that's kind of the number that Wendy and I discussed. So that's kind of where we moved that. If you adjust it up a little bit, there will be more hours available to employees. If you adjust it down, more hours could potentially be paid out on October 1st. Does that make sense? Okay.
And another thought that I'm going to go back to the slide I was just on. We're looking at capping your accrual at 500 hours. So once you hit 500 hours of accrued time, you stop accruing, and you need to go take some time. Okay, so the whole goal of this is we want people to take vacation, right? And have time to be sick as well if you have an illness. But to use it, don't let it accrue so much. And then as a maximum payout, at separation is 200 hours.
So that's an important, so think about, now let's just compare other cities, like, let's have a real discussion. Most other cities have an accrual cap at 600 hours. Some are 800, okay? So that means you accrue at your rate right there, 1 to 5, your 22 hours per year, up to a certain number. Then you stop accruing, so until you have some vacation, right? And then your maximum payout at separation is 200. Most other cities are 400. So why did we pick 200? Why are we suggesting 200? The higher that payout becomes, then the employees, they kind of use it as like a bankroll for when they might leave. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know, you can make that decision on your own. Some would see it as good and some would see it as bad. But when you have that lower separation number there, it encourages people to use your time. It also, this 500 encourages people to use your time. What we don't want is people hitting their cap. And we've had some people hit their cap. They just never get sick and they never go on vacation. And then Wendy and I are like, you're going to stop accruing your hours. So then they're just like forced off. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's just not good for scheduling. It's not good for projects. It's not good for a lot of things. So the accrual cap can be set wherever you'd like. Other cities are at 600. We're suggesting 500. And go ahead, Wendy.
And I want to also say, our budget is not as big as these other cities, okay? So we're picking 200, which is 5 weeks. So that's more than what they're getting right now as a paid out when they leave the city.
Today they're getting 2.
2 weeks, right? And so, or the max is 3.6 weeks. That's the max they could get paid out if they leave the city now on our current plan. This, at 200 hours, that's 5 weeks. So we feel that that's fair, and we also feel that the budget can absorb that in the sense that I'm not budgeting additional funds to cover that. You look at when an employee leaves, so now they've left, and now you've put an ad out to replace them. You go through the interview process, you go through all of that, so how many weeks does that take before they come on board? And you've already budgeted for this employee to be here for the whole year, right? So it's more than likely going to be enough to, the budget to be able to absorb that.
In my experience so far, that's been 3 to 6 months sometimes for key positions. And if multiple guys or ladies leave at the same time, now we're back to Wendy's point where we're not as big as some of these other cities that have these higher rates. It's a little harder for us to absorb. So just know the discussion behind the numbers wasn't just arbitrary.
It usually takes about 6 to 8 weeks to fill a position in a normal job environment, right? It's hard to find people right now. So it doesn't break your budget because you do the payout. If I leave, you pay me out 200 hours. By the time you hire somebody new, you don't have overlapping hours. Does that make sense? Now, if you hire a new person within 2 days, you've paid me out for 5 weeks, whatever the number is, and now you're also paying a new person. So there's real meaning in the numbers there that it takes to hire somebody new to pay out and fill the position. Usually happen about like this.
And I would guess we would have to have that happen multiple times in a fiscal year to really affect the budget.
Yes.
Because you gotta realize this person, maybe we hire their replacement in 2 days, but the other guy that left, you know, depending on what department they're out of, you know, that's also a factor.
So what amount are you allowing people to start out at to?
Convert 100% of vacation and 120 hours of sick. Now, council, when we met last, you said council gave an overwhelming let them pick. I remember those words very specifically. Either they can cash out up over 120 or they can just convert everything right up. But what you find is people are getting right up there. About 5 people who will get real close to that 500-hour max real fast.
By
So
the
we
time
can
they
still allow
accrue,
that.
Yeah. the
We can
next
still
year.
allow that, but we'll just have a real good discussion with them that says, if you do a 1-to-1 conversion and do not take a cash out, if you will, above 120, you know that you will stop accruing in 3 pay periods. Do you see what I'm saying?
And that was my question, is how many do we have that first paycheck, they're gonna go, oh, wait a minute,
Right, so,
why, I can't accrue now?
So,
Right.
But
I'll show you a
communication.
spreadsheet.
and we have a spreadsheet to
I'll
show
show
you.
it
Did
to
you
you, but I
read?
just wanted to because I don't want to come back to this slide,
Sure.
so let me just go over this slide real quick. This is at a 1-to-1 payout, converting 120 hours. Employee must be employed by the city on the date of the payout. So the payout would be like the first payroll in October. And right now, last payroll was the last one of June, and so I took our accrual rates, and I said, if nobody takes vacation and this is what they're gonna accrue, then this is what it's gonna be to the budget, and that's $65,270.45. It's $54,000 is the payout on the PTO, and then you got Social Security, Medicare, per seat. Okay, so that would be the cost that I would budget in our budget for '24. But this could be substantially less, because I happen to know that Ms. Crofts is gonna go on vacation real soon, and so is,
My 80 hours are dropping out of there for
Yeah.
me.
for her.
And other people in July and August are the big travel months for people, vacation months. So you're gonna see that number come down. So I don't think I'm the anomaly.
Jennifer,
I know
do
we have a
you
lot of
why my
guys that
computer's
don't,
clicking
And then
through
hunt,
this?
yeah,
and hunting season.
Yeah.
In the
There it
fall,
goes.
October, yeah.
yeah,
And they're
That's an
gone.
adjustment.
yeah.
Yep.
What is this thing doing?
There's nothing,
Why?
I don't know.
Okay, I need to go to my Excel. And I need to go to my 24.
Are we having technical difficulties?
I think we're good.
Well, as soon as I clicked off my PowerPoint, my screen was going, I don't know if you saw
Are we
it, but
good to
it wasn't
continue?
clicking where I wanted it to go. So
Okay.
yes, I was having difficulties. So this is the sheet that I want to show you. And what this is, names have been removed and that. So here is our employees, and here's their vacation and sick, and this is what they're accruing at. And then this is their hours accrued as of 6:30, and then potential accrual as of 9:30, and then converting to PTO, okay? And so this would be their beginning balance coming in, and then this darker blue field is what they would accrue in the next year if they didn't take anything,
Oh,
okay? And so that's where you get to high numbers. So let's look at somebody who would definitely go and hit if we didn't. So,
Can I double check the assumptions?
pardon?
So this is converting them, and then if they don't take any days off?
Correct.
Okay,
Yep,
And this is the
correct.
1-to-1 conversion?
Yes,
Or is
and
this the,
this is the 120. So see how this employee 201 is going to be at 123 in September if they aren't sick. If they're not sick from now until the end of September,
right,
they will have 123 hours, and we're gonna say they'll keep their 120 and they'll convert, they're probably not gonna convert this, but that's a small one. If I go up here to, this is a bigger one. This employee has 319 hours of sick, and he will have this employee will have 341 hours, and then they're gonna convert. And then if you took the 257 and the 176, they're already almost there to the 500. And then what it would cost if they convert is over here. And so there's a few that have high sick balances. We have one employee who, from the time they started, hasn't taken one day of sick or one day of vacation. And they've been here for over 6 months. It's coming on a year. So that's, I just wanted to present that. I think it's a good thing to get them to convert, but like, let's say that somebody is gonna use up all their vacation, but they have a lot of sick, they won't necessarily want to convert because they're gonna take that, they're gonna count on that sick coming into PTO as giving them additional days, right? And so that's why we're not gonna like mandatory them, but we just really wanna make them be aware that 500 is your cap, and let's take some time. So how are you guys feeling about this?
Council, I would just have this comment. At the county, there was a change in elected official, and that brought about a 50% attrition in a rather large department at the county. So all these people bailed, and they had kind of got lackadaisical in this area. And man, the county wrote out a big bunch of money. And so I really appreciate the administrator and the treasurer trying to get ahead of this a little bit. We don't have hundreds of employees, but we've got 60 now, 50, where are we at?
No, we're at, well, the library just hired 2 interns, but we count those, so we're close to 50. We're right bumping up, and once you go over 50 now, FMLA.
And again, things happen in this world that Wendy's done a heck of a job of building our fund balances. We just talked about it this past week from where a previous administration was and the way the economy was, things are now. We're much healthier now. If something like that were to happen, Middleton's doing a good job.
It's not just me, that's.
Credit. But staying ahead of this kind of stuff is important. Those are just my comments.
So is this the right direction that you would like to
think
see
so.
us move? Okay,
I
good.
believe so. So with here's the positive I see with it. If a guy saves up a bunch and he wants to go on vacation for a month, now he can.
Yep.
Or if he needs, whatever,
surgery
say,
or
yeah,
whatever.
hip surgery, hip replacement, whatever, he's got the time and it's paid. He doesn't have to worry about if he has enough sick leave to happen his vacation or vice versa.
Correct.
That's the one benefit I see with this. And I do like the idea of the payout. I really do. This is time they've earned. And I love hearing that a guy's been here over 6 months, never taken a day. I'm like, absolutely. I mean, that a guy, I want to shake his hand because he hasn't taken a sick day in this day and age. So kudos to him. But I do want to say that reward those, and that's the best way to reward them is with that payout, in my opinion. Reward them for their showing up to work every day. That doesn't happen nowadays.
And now, another part that comes into my mind as we discuss this is currently in our employee handbook. So the employee handbook is going to have to be revised and come before you. Currently in the employee handbook, an employee is allowed to donate sick time to another individual when they don't have enough and they're gonna have hip replacement or back surgery or whatever, right? Whatever thing's gonna take them out, and they can, in the current policy, it's a 4-to-1, so, or it's a donate sick to sick, right? That's fine. I don't know how you guys are gonna address it when it's PTO.
Yeah, we'll just have to we'll have to propose some language if you're going to continue to allow a sick, or it would be a PTO transfer at that point.
I personally like a sick leave bank because you could have a Cracker Jack employee who's been here 2 years and something catastrophic happened, a car wreck, whatever, where they need that time but haven't cured it. I would like to see some kind of language in that. I don't know how the rest of the council feels, but a sick leave bank to me is or the option for
A donation.
The donation and
is.
what that looks like and what the rules
Yeah.
would be around that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't
So
know.
in our current system, let's say I'm an employee that wants to donate 5 days to employee X.
Email.
Just an email and it's done. There's no oversight or not
Yeah, it comes to me and Wendy, and we, as long as you check the balances to make sure and they say you realize this is final, because once you donate,
yeah.
It's done. And we don't allow any retro. We had an employee who had cancer, and so several people donated over and over and over. The only difference is you can't donate in advance of. It has to be for a current need. Like I can't leave and give you all my sick leave.
Gotcha.
Okay, I'm like, because we had one employee say, well, I'm leaving and I've got 200 hours, so I want to give 10, 10, 10.
Right.
It has to be for a current need.
Okay.
Okay, so you can't,
Yeah,
now,
I agree.
right,
That would be abusive.
that would be abusive, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I like, to me, it's good because we don't know what happens with life. Like I said, the cancer,
Yeah,
that is something that I guarantee employees lined up. I mean,
Yeah.
who wouldn't line up to say, yes, here, take a day or two?
that's exact, and so, and many people donated, had lots of time, so yeah, so I think the city employees are very generous and they help where they can, so.
Okay.
Okay, I think we've got direction, Wendy.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to recap, I've been working on the budget and everything is balanced today, but I do not have my numbers from Canyon County yet. So it's just a work in progress still until we get those numbers, right?
And those generally come about,
At the end of this month.
End of July.
So I'm not gonna come before you guys again with budget stuff until I come with a tentative budget. And then you'll adopt it. So in August, I believe it's August 2nd, we'll come with the tentative and then adoption or whatever it's called, tentative, proposed. And then on the 16th of August, you will adopt it and then it'll be our new budget. So, but I wanted to just bring this up to you to let you talk about a couple things. So if you look at this slide, in 21's actuals, we ended up $10 million, and 22 is $21 million, and this is our budget totals, and then proposed for 23, where it stands today, is at 19. And you might say, wow, that's quite a big difference. Well, we remember that we had brought in quite a bit of additional funds into 22. Actually, that's 23. These numbers are not changed. I'm sorry, I did not change the top. This first one actual is 22, the middle one is 23, and this proposed is 24.
And the 22 is actual.
The 20,
Or the other
the
is
22
budgeted.
is our budgeted amount,
That makes,
or no, the 22 is actual, what we actually did.
Yeah.
23 is what we have budgeted this year,
okay,
and 24 is the proposed,
okay.
okay? So you'll see that it's gone down a bit, but what's in here is that $2 million grant. So if we get the $2 million grant, that's increased this, and we'll spend that $2 million as well, right? So it's easy to look at 23 and say, oh, look how our city budget's growing. No, it isn't. So, is there anything that you want to question on this? So it just has the expenditures of how things are set up. Anything you want to refresh yourselves on as far as capital projects that are going? Any questions in your minds?
I think I'd like a refresh on, because we always hit salary in the beginning, because that's your big one and you need to have that solid.
So,
Were you able to go with 5?
so in our, yeah, we went 5%,
Okay.
and we're adding 2 new employees to the police department.
That was
One
another,
is a
it's like,
sergeant.
where did those, they were discussed, but where did they
Yes.
solidify at?
So, I'm trying to follow what you guys
I,
request.
but to the best of my ability, see if you can actually do that.
Yeah,
Yes.
we gotta come up with a harder challenge apparently.
the police department, again, it's almost staffed completely. There's one position yet that if I met with the chief a few weeks ago, and he's kind of got a guy in a circling pattern to start October. And for the first time in maybe since I've been mayor, the police department will be staffed. Plus you gave them, or we gave them another position. So things are going well there.
So 2 new police, one of them's a sergeant in a new position, which is 2 bodies plus a position. Any which
No,
will be,
one sergeant and one
No.
officer.
No detective.
okay.
Yeah.
No
Okay.
detective, but
Yeah.
a sergeant and a new position.
So those are the only new employees coming to the city's payroll in '24.
Well, then,
Everything else has already been there, but they haven't been fulfilled.
Gotcha.
An officer's left and they haven't been able to replace that officer.
okay.
So I believe there's 2 of them right now that they're looking to fill.
I thought it
And
just-
one is on the way, and I think they still have another one.
I think they
Maybe
might
it's just filled.
Did they
fill
just-
one, but.
It hasn't hit payroll yet.
What-
I haven't received the paperwork.
The chief will come in every month or two and give us a full report. And probably the next city council, the one after, he'll be here, and we'll get the official word.
Outstanding.
Excellent, Wendy, thank you very much.
So cool things on the budget, to kind of remember, since transportation's always a hot topic, right? And I want you guys to be able to speak, about it and share the good news. So, as you know, Hartley is almost done, be finished operational likely, right, Jason, before school starts. Okay, so, on its way. Middleton Road, the roundabout is coming along fabulously. They're really moving on that. So those are 2 transportation improvements that, gosh, I know, Carrie, you've been with me the whole time, 12 years, right? Rob, probably 8 years. Tim, the last 4, right? So,
No, way more than that, just
Like-
not in this seat.
just not in that seat. So we're starting to see some things really come alive transportation-wise in the city. There is that $2 million grant in there. That'll put a signal at Cemetery Road. So really a neat thing. So Hartley signal, likely, you know, I say God willing, and I honestly pray for it every night, and I'm not kidding about that. Cemetery Road, we are working with the developer to the east of the straightening of Middleton Road. If we're able to get the necessary right-of-way, those 2 lanes will go forward, and then we budgeted to continue it from Boise to State Highway 44, which then starts a conversation about a traffic signal at State Highway 44 and the realigned Middleton Road. So, I mean, real progress. I've been with the city 12 years, and when I came in, there was 1 traffic signal at Ridley's. And that's the only one there, and it came in just 2 years before me. So, in the last couple of years, we will have made some significant traffic improvements to the city at Hartley. 24, you could see Cemetery, you see the Cemetery Road extension. That was planned in 2006 is when that grant went in. So we're starting to finish projects that have been planned for 20, I don't know, Middleton Road could be 30 years.
At least.
Is starting to finish. Things are happening. So I would say that's good transportation news. Developers are on board possibly to get a traffic signal at Duff. You've got, you guys approved the quarry down south of the river. They're designing right now a roundabout on Middleton Road. So when you think traffic, which has been really the topic for the last 3-4 years, 3.5 years, I would say that you guys have done really well. Really, really well. We're not seeing all the fruits of the labors, but
It's
we're
coming.
getting very, very
See the
close.
light.
So it takes a while, it takes time. Unfortunately, the growth comes before it, but we put all the tools in place. This gentleman right here asked about all the tools that are necessary to bring forward that transportation impact fees, sometimes urban renewal, right? That brings forward the businesses. Looking at, so when you start looking at the tools that bring these things forward, the city implemented those, and now we're starting to see those things come forward. So I would say good work. You guys got chewed on a little bit tonight for a few things, so I'll follow it up with a little attaboy there, so how's that?
Just remember something that we want to talk about, Becky, is the building permits. So we want to go from a 2018, what is that called?
Oh, yeah, so one of the things that, so we get the building valuation table, and it comes when we adopt a new building code. We've been using the 2,000, if you look at the city's fee schedule online, you'll see a big giant table, and it basically shows you all the different building types, and it's based on a formula. Well, we've been using the 2018 building valuation, BVD, right? Our building official, Chris Grooms, has suggested that we move to the 2021 BVD, building valuation data. Jenica's gonna bring it up here, right there, that table right there. So this is how those fees were calculated for the school for plan review and inspections. He uses this table based on the building type, the cost or the type of construction, and then of course the occupancy or the use, if you will. So we're looking at updating this and moving to this new 2021. Still a few years old. It's based on national data, but it's the most current that we have.
And it will increase by 36%. So when I plugged in those numbers on what I project to have residential new homes being built, permits for 24, I want to use the newer table that's 36% higher. And that is-
Will be bringing that forward?
That
Yes.
will come forward, so if you adopt this, it would come forward in a public hearing as a fee resolution
With all the other fee
with all the other
resolutions.
fees.
So, I spoke with Chris about this. So this bottom number right here, this 1148.78, it turns with the increase, it makes it about 1570 something. So that kind of gives you an idea of the permit cost that you would be looking to increase.
So these numbers here are the cost of
The
the value of the permit. So let's say you're doing a pergola, right? And it's between $9,000 and $10,000. Well, there's your, she moved it on,
Sorry.
so it's 16 to 17. So there's your permit fee is $322, right? And then your plan review is 25% of that, which is, and so that's how those fees are really table-based. Once you get outside of these numbers over here, it's based on the first, I think it's 100,000, and then there's a formula that you use beyond that. So when you were looking at the school district fees and how those fees were calculated, it was based on that formula, so. Pretty standard stuff. So when we'll have the public hearings, just an FYI, we'll present this that night, and the public can comment on that as well as.
And that'll be
council.
August 2nd, because then the budget, and then they can tell me whether they accept it or not, and then we move forward with whether this is gonna be the budget or whether it's not, or whether I'm gonna change it and come to different numbers.
So that's kind of your, kind of the overview of the kind of cool
Yes.
projects.
It was good stuff tonight, Wendy. I appreciate you covering that.
Yeah. That's my
Any
pleasure.
questions for Wendy on anything presented or budget related?
The staff handbook, will we make that adjustment prior to
So once you,
that's gonna have to be done before the budget?
once you adopt the budget, or we could bring that probably at the same time, do the change there, because a lot of that calculation will change. And I know Wendy's brought this up before, but just to kind of, in the budget this year, we budgeted to pay overtime versus hours, versus comp time hours.
So you'll see it in July,
Yeah.
and you'll approve it in August.
Yes.
Final approval in September.
In September, yeah. So just know that because you're putting those hours together and you're accumulating it at the same rate, but you can use them more varied now. Employees as far as public works go, they will be paid overtime versus comp time. Our handbook says you have to use comp time first, which means those balances would grow really fast. And those only really come to play when they're on call on the weekends.
So it's effective October 1?
October 1.
Yes, and it is in this budget.
Yeah.
So paying out overtime and no longer accumulating comp time is included in this budget.
Okay.
And then it's approved too. It's not just, oh, I'm gonna work overtime, it has to be approved by supervisor.
So some changes.
Okay, are we done with the workshop?
We are?
All right,
Don't have
7:17, we're
questions.
done with that. Any council comments tonight?
Just one, I will be out of town next council meeting. I just realized that we're in July because of all the fireworks last night, so. Because of my neighbor who apparently went to Rocky Mountain and spent his entire paycheck for the month.
I heard him.
Yeah, well, he was impressive.
They were all completely legal, of course.
Yes, so, but I will be out of town on a fishing trip.
And Becky leaves for 2 weeks vacation on,
I leave Sunday and I get back on the 24th.
going to Portugal. Councilman O'Meara.
I have something that came up because of our baseball tournament that I kind of had some other discussions with other members of the community about. And I think it's something that we need to maybe take a look at changing our policy or revisiting it. And it has to do with curb and gutter painting.
Did
during-
you say painting?
Painting, yes. During our baseball tournament, we had several issues with our participants.
Speak up,
Parking
Tim, because
along
you're kind
the
of away
corner.
from the microphone.
Yeah, so they were, basically what was happening, around Foot Park, we do have the curbs painted yellow. And unfortunately, it's been several years since they were painted, and there's very little yellow left. So it became a real situation down there during the baseball tournament. But while I was at the baseball tournament, Victor Islis came to me and discussed the same situation with his fire hydrants, access to the fire hydrants. And then if you guys look at the second page there, we also have an issue with encroachment of utilities in some of the fire hydrants. It calls for a 3-foot clear space around them, and if you look at that top left picture on the second page, they're clearly within that 3-foot circle. So I think it's time that we've discussed maybe budgeting for a revolving patch of painting each year so that it's not all done in 1 year. It does last for several years, but I think maybe we ought to have a discussion about this. And
I don't know what kind of numbers we're talking about,
I don't either.
but our Public Works Director's notified at this moment, and he'll be working on it, and we'll try and get something back in a few weeks, let you know how we're gonna approach that. It's obvious, it's not
And I
a
think that,
priority right now, so we'll.
no, it's not. No,
Yeah.
I mean, the tournament's over for this year, but I think we might want to, when we do our building design or something, maybe get the fire department involved in what's going on around their hydrants, because utilities I want them to be able to hook up that hose and put my house out, not fight around the telephone utility.
Sure, no,
So-
that's good work, Tim, thank you very much. Any other comment? Becky pretty much covered a couple of the things that I wanted to talk about. So around the 4th, things get disjointed a little bit as we enter budgeting, but we'll do the best we can and keep things rolling. So it's 7:21 and tonight's city council meeting is over. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Benjamin, I got a question for you. What do you do for a living?
At the moment, I am just working part-time at Ricky's in Middleton here.
Oh, I see you